Hey guys, welcome back to RMA Garage. I am Mark and we're glad you joined us today. Consider subscribing if you enjoy this type of content. And today's content, RV mud flaps. We are going to be talking about the mud flaps that I made for my RV. And the reason why we're doing that is because many times when I've gone on vacation or people have been looking at it, they've said, hey, those mud flaps, mine doesn't have them. How did you get those? And I always said I made them, and they said, how did you do that? Well, that's what today's video is going to be about, on how I made them. I even went so far as to come up with a drawing that is going to be available either through email, or if I can drop a link down below. If I can make that work, we're going to do that. But I can get this drawing to you, and it's going to show you exactly how I made these, the size, the shape, all the pieces and parts that go along with that. So we are going to go through every step that I have done to make these mud flaps, how we're going to install them on the RV, the nuts and the bolts, and everything that it takes to do it. Now, the only thing that you won't be able to do is probably fabricate them. I have a sheet metal shop as a part of work, and they fabricated the heavy gauge aluminum plate, which makes up the mud flap. The rest of it I was able to do myself. So that's really going to be the only nuance, is having you guys try and find a sheet metal shop that can help you with this. So with that, let's get to it. I've been giving these mud flaps some thought about the drawing and about having you guys try and figure out how to get them made yourself. I am putting this out to see if you guys have any interest. I would be willing to make these and to ship them to you for a reasonable price if there are enough people that interested in them. Basically, to make them one at a time would be expensive and time consuming, just spending time putting it together. And but if I can make maybe a dozen or two of these things, a dozen sets, together at a run, or maybe 20 or 30 of them, then the costs greatly decrease. So I'm wondering if you guys are interested in purchasing these mud flaps. I can make them for you. So leave a comment below and chime in. Let me know if you want to buy them. I'll start making them if there is a demand. I did look online and I could not find any mud flaps that matched mine with the quality. There's some rubber ones, all rubber ones, or all plastic ones, but nothing that had the aluminum and the plastic bottoms. So if you guys want me to make them and sell them to you, leave a comment below, and we'll try and maybe start figuring out something and making them available to the public very soon. So you guys have the floor. Do you guys want a set or not? Leave a comment below. So I want to show you the drawing first and kind of go over all the pieces and parts before I show you them on the RV. And this is the driver's side. Just to kind of give you an idea for orientation. This piece here is going to be the main mud flap. This is made out of 1/8 inch aluminum, and I have all the dimensions here, and I even have the angle. And then these holes here, these are for the mounting of the back plate. The back plate is also aluminum, and I got the dimensions there. And then this piece is actually the plastic mud flap. This piece and the back plate is what you're going to need to fabricate out of 1/8 inch aluminum. If you have access to 1/8 inch plate and you can bend this yourself, then awesome. Cut it up, do whatever you need to do. If not, you can always find a sheet metal shop, like I said. Okay, so then this side of the drawing is going to be where it is all connected. You see the back plate, you see the mud flap at the bottom, and then you see where it is attached to the structure, and I'm going to show you that under the RV. Okay guys, so right now we're looking at the main body of the mud flap. So you can see down here at the bottom, it kind of comes up, and then it angles, and then it kind of attaches right back up into the frame. And you can see right in here the 3 fasteners that are on the top, and then I have 1 fastener in the back that is attached to the bracing, basically to keep it from flopping back and forth. So this is the main body of the mud flap. All right, so this is the inside, and you can see that lateral brace there as it goes across, and you won't see the fasteners sticking out because they're only fastened on one side. They're not through bolt. It basically just fastens right into this piece of steel. Okay, so that again is the main body of the mud flap. Now I have this is the 3-inch wide back plate, and this is what's clamping the plastic mud flap to the main body up here. Okay, here's a side view. This piece here is the main body. Then I have the plastic mud flap here, and then I have the back plate that is attached. And as I swivel around, you'll see that the front of the fastener here, the carriage bolt side, that's nice and smooth, so it's not going to catch any dirt or anything. Okay, the reason why I did this 2-piece deal is because I wanted this to, if it caught the ground, it could bend. There's actually scratches on the back of here already, but this piece here is replaceable. So as I'm going down the road, if I got to go over a curb or you know, this snaps off, it's not going to damage the top of the aluminum here. This is salvage. This is breakaway. This is, you know, throwaway. I can replace this no problem. And you can get this at any truck store, just basically a mud flap. But as you can see, it's not that far off the ground. I mean, I only got probably about 5 inches of clearance. And that, what is it's protecting? It's protecting my dump valve. I got my dump valve here, and it is important when I get into a campground, all the mud and all the grass and everything catches here. Before, I would have to clean my dump valves off because these would all be covered in mud and all kinds of grit, and it was just a pain, especially if I was traveling for a while. So these mud flaps, the reason why I did these mud flaps was because of protecting everything in the back here. All right, guys, there was one more thing that I wanted to show you, and I tried to find it, but I couldn't. But there was a shield here that was, there were 3 holes in the bottom of the RV, and basically there was a piece of black metal that came down, oh, I'd have to say about this far. It came up and it came over about 1.5 inches, and there were 3 screws into the bottom of the RV. And what did that protect? This is my gas filling tube, and then this is the vent line, of course. But what this did was this protected any stones and nicks coming off the tire for hitting these lines. Okay, so before I installed my mud flap here, I took this piece of metal off, and I think I threw it away because it's starting to rust anyway. But what I did is once I took the screws out, I used urethane caulking and I sealed the holes up. It doesn't look real pretty, but it's effective, and they haven't been no leaks, no cracks or anything. But if you guys look under your RV and you see a piece of metal here and mine doesn't, is because I took it off on this side. All right, guys, we're here at the Workbench, and I'm going to show you the tools that I used and how I was able to assemble everything together, including drill bits and just the little nuances that may make the installation go a little bit easier for you guys. So once you have the main body and the back plate and the actual plastic mud flap made, the first thing I did was I attached the mud flap to the main body with the back plate. And the reason for doing that was basically just to adjust, you know, back and forth, up and down once I get it up into the wheel well, and looking at how I'm going to attach it to the brace. Now, your RV should have the same brace, but there may be some nuances here, so you definitely want to check that out before you start drilling these top holes. Okay, so I used a 3/8 inch drill bit and a drill, and I drilled out the back plate, the mud flap, and the main body here. Now the spacing on this, being that this is 20 inches, basically these holes are centered in the 3 inches, so it's 1.5 inches down. And then it's 2.5 inch spacing on this side and on this side, and then I had 5 inches in between. So that's 20 inches, and that was the spacing, so it kind of looks nice and looks factory. So because I was using a carriage bolt, these carriage bolts have a square head on the back, and you're wondering, well, I'm using a round drill bit and this is square, how are they going to seat? Well, the aluminum was pretty soft, and what I did was I took that 3/8 drill bit and I bumped it up maybe to a little bit larger, and what I did was I took a hammer and I hammered in the back of the main body to make sure that this seated properly. And then if it didn't seat 100%, that's fine. But what I did was I took and I had my impact socket. So this was something that would go right into an impact. And I put it in the into the tool, and I used a let's see, what size is this? This is 9/16. So I basically used this and I seated. I made sure that the carriage bolt was basically jammed in or pounded into the main body, and then I used this to run the nut in, and basically that sucked it up and it didn't even allow the carriage bolt to move. So if you're able to do that, that was easier for me. All right, guys, I know I showed you the carriage bolt method for attaching the back plate and the mud flap to the main body, but you can just use a regular hex head bolt. It's going to be easier. You won't have to worry about the carriage bolt spinning off. I was able to do that, but let's face it, if you guys can't do that, you can definitely use just a regular hex head bolt. It's not the end of the world. So you drill it out, you hold it, use a wrench in the back. It works just fine. Now, to do the attachment to the RV, you have to double check your structure on the RV to make sure that this is the configuration that you have. Once you are confirmed that, you have to make sure that the fasteners are centered. This is 1-inch square tubing, which is what makes up this piece of steel. So 1-inch piece of steel, I had 1 inch long. As you can see here, number 14 by 10 by 1 inch. And plus it's got a washer and it's got the thickness of the mud flap is 1/8 of an inch. So this didn't bottom out on the back side of the tubing. All right, guys, so I needed to make one revision to a comment I just made in my video, and that was the size of these tubes. I looked in here after working on the video, and I saw that they were a little bit bigger than 1 by 1. The width of this is actually 1.5 inches. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but there's actually 1.5 inches depth. So that fastener, that 1-inch fastener, has 1.5 inches to embed itself into this steel. And the vertical part, if I can do this without dropping the tape, the vertical section looks to be about 1 inch. So you have 1.5 inches by 1 inch piece of steel holding these mud flaps on. You can see that one side is shorter than the other, so they're definitely 1 inch by 1.5 inches. I just wanted to clarify that so you guys knew. So what we do first is we got to drill out the holes once you determine where they're going to go. And basically what I did was I used a drill bit that was larger than the actual fastener itself. And the reason for that is that when you go to install this, you don't want the mud flap backing or tracking up on top into the bolt, climbing up the bolt while you're trying to get it in. You want it to be loose. Okay, so you drill that, you drill the mud flap, then you take a number 1 drill bit. That is, being that this is a B point. Now, B point means that there is no point. B means flat, and that's what I'm using. The reason why I use this is because it's thick, it's strong, and it's stainless, and that is why I chose this one. I like the stainless bolts. So you take a number 1 drill bit and you drill out the steel, and you make sure that it's all nice and reamed out, no burrs or anything. And then what I ended up doing is I used my impact. I got my impact here, and I made a little socket. I made a little extension, and this size, this head here is 3/16. And again, this isn't going to spin. So I lined everything up and I just drove it right into the RV, and then it went in no problem. I didn't have to use the drill. Using a drill is possible, but if you have access to an impact, it runs these in so much better. The reason why also I use an impact is because these threads are self-tapping. And I don't know if you guys can see that. There's like little V grooves in there. That's what taps the steel, and it basically makes it real strong, puts threads in there. And when you use an impact, as you run it in quickly, it cuts quickly, versus if you're trying to use a ratchet or something manual. If you can use something mechanical to drive this in, that is the best way. Just don't overdrive them. If you get them in, I mean, you could take a ratchet and finish them up, but just don't overdrive these because you'll strip out the hole and you'll have to go to a bigger fastener or move the hole. All right, guys, so that is it. That is all the tools that I used to install these mud flaps. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. If you guys have any questions on how I did what I did, if I missed something, if I made a mistake, if you find a better way, there have been other people that have given me pointers even on some of the things that I've done. So please keep the comments coming. I try and answer within 24 hours. If you like this video, don't forget to click the like and subscribe button and click on the bell so you won't miss our next episodes. I know I've been kind of lagging behind on my videos. Work's been busy, life's been busy, but hopefully we'll get back on track. I'm still trying to do one a week, which that is my goal. So I'm trying hard, but I do appreciate all the support, all the likes, all the subscribes, and hopefully we'll keep growing the channel. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.